happy to be here again. The number of participants have quickly dwindled out here, but anyways, it's a very interesting topic. Maybe they are logging in digitally, but happy to be here. And I mean, this is a great panel of sorts. In a way, we have people coming in from the major ports where implementing technology itself will be a very big challenge, leave alone reaping the benefits from that. And then we have from the Gati Shakti part of it, how they are looking at technology, and from an international port on the utilization of technology. Probably I'll start, Daljit, from you in terms of setting the context from an international perspective, right? What are the things that's happening at the global front? And what is the learnings that you could share to us, and specific on implementation at Antwerp? What is the kind of technology interventions that has happened at your port, and what are the learnings for us in India?
Thank you, Jagan. I think, first of all, before I start about the modernization and technology that is implemented at the port, I think I'll just like to brief about what our port is, because most people may know Port of Antwerp because it's the second largest port in Europe and one of the largest ports in Belgium. But not many people know that we also merged with the Port of Zeebrugge 2 years back, and that makes us a much larger port in terms of the operations that we do. So just to give you a background, Port of Antwerp and Port of Zeebrugge combined, the total area of the port is around 14,000 hectares of land, which is approximately 140 square kilometers of area. And this is the area we're talking about in terms of, completely doing the technology transformation. What it also means is actually that our port is also, Antwerp, if you know, is also the largest chemical integrated cluster in Europe. Now that also makes us more of an integrated port in terms of doing industrialization as well as the port operations, so which is quite different. And we are also landlord port. The only landlord port I believe in India right now is JNPA, but other ports are also, when I talk to companies, ports, they are also in the mode of getting into the industrialized development that is happening. Now a port, as a landlord port, we don't do much operations ourselves. We build the infrastructure in conjunction, in talks with the companies, in talks with the service providers, and in the terms talks with the logistics companies that are operating in the port area. We are actually, as I mentioned, the area is quite large. What we have done is it is highly difficult to do it by manual intervention. So we have a lot of technology that is deployed in the port area. For example, we have cameras. These are all smart cameras, completely capable of identifying objects in terms of traffic, in terms of ships, and this is thanks to the AI, that is really artificial intelligence that is really operating in the port area. We have sensors to detect chemical gases, to detect water temperatures, and detect what is the real atmospheric challenges that are happening in our day-to-day operations. We also have drone operations. Now to manually detect or manually look at all this area, it's highly impossible. So we've now put in drones. We have 18 flights in a day that takes across the total area of the port, covering that data of the port, where you can capture what is the oil spillage, what is the berthing capacity, which ships are berthing in, what is the incidents that are happening in the port. So these are all captured by way of these kind of sensors, cameras, and drones. But to club it together, how do you actually get it together? We have a completely 5G network at the port, which actually captures this and sends it back to the remote center. Now, we also have developed a kind of a digital twin of the port, which is a completely real-time information of the port that is captured. And this digital twin actually captures information released by all these different sensors and relates it back to the port, which means that every incident can be captured in a real-time moment, which also means that anything which is projected or forecasted can actually now be predicted well in advance. Now this is when I'm talking of the digital part of it. We also look at more on the mobility part of it. When I say mobility, we also look at how do we overcome the challenges of getting into more of different kind of modes of transportation. We are a multimodal port. We are also working with partners across to develop semi-autonomous. We are already working on an autonomous inland navigation vessel. We already started one with a semi-autonomous kind of thing, which runs between the Zeebrugge platform and the Antwerp platform. But going further, as the regulations evolve, we will actually get into more autonomous kind of shipping. We also have a company like a product called EcoDrone, which does depth measurements to clear off any debris and understand what is happening there. So that we can actually make safe passage for the vehicles coming in. So if you look at from a broader perspective, a lot of technological developments are happening in the port area. And these are actually where, I also see a lot of synergies where Indian ports are also gearing up to a lot of these kind of, technology advancements. And we see a lot of synergies between our ports that work on.
So, Mr. Joglekar, over to you from the global to the Indian part of it, and also on to the major ports part of it. Not only it's a major port, it will be a major challenge in terms of getting the port operations, coming on the digital platform, technology adoption, a lot of skill development which has to happen. And you also double hat as part of the IPA as well, and overlook this kind of an intervention happening not only at Mumbai port, probably across all the ports in India, all the major ports in India. So I think you can add a lot of perspective in terms of what technology can do to what in actual spirit can be done at the port, and what are the learnings that we could as a team gather from that.
Thank you. Thanks to the ETInfra for calling us here, and it's really a pleasure to be here again and with this all good panels with me. Moving to the question, whatever that Daljit has just explained, some of them are really good, as well as everyone wanted to have that. But in reality, the digital twin and mainly the digital twin is very costly. The return on investment, we really need to think through before we invest into this digital twin. But of course, sooner the better, and maybe down the line in five years or so, everyone will be digitized. Currently, we have, as he was talking to me, that I have a dual hat, additional responsibility of 12 major ports, automation and digitization. In Indian ports, we have a lot of things that we are doing, not that we are quite slow, but now it is picking up like anything. Other than shipping industry or the maritime ecosystem, other industries have adopted the technology very well and quickly, but whereas the maritime economy took some time, but now it is moving very fast. If you have seen a document which is available on the net, which is called as MIV 2030, that is Maritime India Vision 2030, which very clearly defines certain things about the technology and what we plan to do, how we plan to do, and what years we plan to do. So by 2030 or by 2047, we will be fully digitized ports, and specifically for the 12 major ports, so it is 100% that we will do it. Indian side of it, whatever he was talking, is that like our ports are very old. Like I work for the Mumbai port, which is 150 years old port. So it has got its own legacy also, as well as we are also proud of it. We are also a landlord port, and after the LIC, we are the biggest entity who owns the land in the Mumbai. Land in Mumbai is something which you all know, basically how costly it is. And we are also implementing and digitizing the entire, the land, what we use for our operations, with the help of a couple of good technologies. The one part which is important for all of us, and we all know that in the port, basically we have the vehicle and the people that enters, and for that it is very important to know basically the track and trace of the people as well as the vehicle is important, because there are close to around 3,000 vehicles which enters into the port, and as well as the people also enter into the port. So it is important for all of us to understand where and how and what he is doing currently. So we are implementing a very beautiful system for integrated access control as well as surveillance for the port, which is getting implemented now. Some of the key features which I will just quickly let you know. We have the surveillance cameras, which are latest state-of-art cameras with 5G enabled, 5G and AI enabled cameras, so that the video analytics can be played on that. Based on the various audits that Mumbai port, being a government port, has to go through, that is the IB audits or regulatory audits, plus we have our own cyber security audits and all that. Based on that, there are 23 analytics that we have come up, wherein anything which is going to happen can be alerted to us quickly. So because of that, the accidents or fatal things can be avoided. We also have added one more thing into that is, in couple of places we have put IP speakers. So if I have to give any message to a particular location where I am seeing that there is some bad things are happening, so I can give that message through the IP speaker. So that has also been implemented. All our access control is through face recognition, and the vehicle movement is through the QR code. So we get, in 1 minute, we can get close to around 6 to 7 or even more vehicles coming in and going out. That also happens. So these are certain things that we started working on, and it will continue to grow. And there are a couple of more projects that we are taking care. We all have the 12 major ports have gone ahead and implemented the SAP, which basically gets us into a seamless integration of all the modules, all the functions, so that we have the data at one place. And for any reporting purposes, it becomes more easy for us, for the ministry or anything, because it's a single version of truth, which basically gives the data. So there is no mismatch of the data across the ports. Second is basically in the operations of the port. Previously, there used to be a lot of paper which used to move from customs to immigrations and within the port also. So those all have been totally been stopped, or has been reduced to almost negligible, because we also implemented certain port operation systems which are very well been taken care by the, or been accepted by the, adopted by our own people as well as the trade, basically the vessel agent or custom brokers or any ecosystem or actors on the maritime economy. And that has really helped us to go ahead with the digitization of the ports. And that is happening all across the 12 major ports. Yeah.
No, thank you. That gives a great perspective. Sir, Mr. Choudhary, in terms of Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya, and those are the youths of the people, and you are heading that institute. Probably you can give a quick overview of what the institute about largely does, and also from a skill development part of it, and how you are making them gearing up for this technology part of it, and what are the interventions that you are bringing onto the table through the institute for this particular sector.
Thank you, ETInfra, for inviting me here to this very important panel discussion and important summit. Before I come to the role of Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya, I think it is important to comprehend the kind of technological advancements that are happening all across. My fellow panelists already alluded to some of them. While we look at the world, the smart ports, whether through Germany or Korea or Japan, the smart ports are currently including smart ways of managing flow of goods or traffic information, or are currently looking at drone-based monitoring or the terminal management in a smarter way. And in India, being one of the leaders in building scalable digital public infrastructure, as we all know, has moved and surged ahead very, very rapidly, even in the maritime sector, as my co-panelist already alluded to, in ports sector, whether ports operations management systems or port community scheme or standard ERP procedures he already talked about, or for shipping sector like e-Samudra, or for inland waterways sectors like river information management systems or least available depth information systems. So basically, India is in the process of digitalization of our ports. An entire maritime sector has created enough digital infrastructure. Therefore, a lot of data is now being captured, generated, and therefore ready for insights to be generated and data-driven decisions to be taken. In this data-driven world that we are living in, right, aptly captured through Maritime India Vision 2030, and more particularly about Maritime Amritkal 2047, a specific on theme 10, that is on improving operational efficiency through technology and innovation, focuses greatly upon leveraging technology in each of the aspects to enhance the entire port sector, because as our Honorable Prime Minister says, ports for progress, ports for prosperity, ports for productivity. And therefore, with our exports growing very rapidly, from approximately 500 billion right now to go to 1000 billion very soon, maritime sector and particularly ports have a very, very big role to play. In that context, and given that India is the biggest democracy in the world, all the development is of the people, for the people, by the people, and therefore we have to prepare qualified people, trained people who will be able to lead this development as India marches towards the developed country. In that regard, in order to break silos between various ministries and to lead infrastructure development across railways, ports, shipping, waterways, aviation, highways, and so on 13th October 2021, PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan was launched by the Honorable Prime Minister. This master plan is the single biggest national development plan after our independence and is of the size of 1.2 trillion US dollars, approximately 30% of our GDP, of our current GDP. It will be executed over a period of years, and it will enable geospatial based technology tool to make a synergistic development to ensure first mile and last mile connectivity. That is one of the important bottlenecks that we currently have. To complement the superior infrastructure that is getting generated, to leverage into services for the common man and for all the service sector, National Logistics Policy was announced on 17 September 2022. That focuses on leveraging the superior infrastructure to bring down the cost of logistics in India and make logistics operations possible. When such a large amount of investment is happening in India, we need trained, qualified, talented manpower who are specialized in the sector. And therefore, as the third leg of this, through an act of parliament in August of 2022, Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya was established as a central university with a very unique mandate, the only university in India to focus on entire transportation sector and the logistics sector. Therefore, while we are operated under the Ministry of Railways, we are mandated to cover all transportation sector, including railways, aviation, ports, shipping, inland waterways, highways, and so on. At this moment, going with the principle that much of India's economic growth will happen through a knowledge-based economy system, much of our program we have oriented with an industry-driven approach. Railway engineering, we have BTech curriculums in railway engineering, only university in India to do that. We have curriculums in digital maritime and in port and shipping logistics, again in tie-up and partnership with the Ministry of Port, Shipping, Waterways and Indian Maritime University. We have programs in cooperation with Delhi Metro Rail Corporation, only university to offer any program related to metro rail management. We have started BTech in aviation engineering in a very strong partnership with Airbus. Currently, we have big tie-ups with Indian Army, Indian Air Force, because they are the biggest, and Indian Navy we are going to sign soon. Two we have already signed with Army and Air Force, to lead further this logistics revolution that is happening through data-driven insights. So at this point of time, I would like to just mention one more point, that apart from many regular programs that we offer, like BTech, MBA, MTech, and PhD, we have a very significant emphasis on training working professionals who are already working in the field. And therefore, executive training is a very, very important aspect for us. And maybe when I come to the next round of the questions, I shall detail some more of the kind of executive training programs that we are running for the sector. Thank you.
So when you talk about Daljit, on digital, the next one comes is the smart ports, right? And in that context, what is the kind of collaboration that can happen between the Indian ports and ports in international geography, and more specifically with Antwerp? What are the things that you have for the Indian ports and how that collaboration can happen?
So, my fellow colleague just mentioned the Mumbai port has been 150 years. In fact, port of Antwerp is also the first shipment started in 1869. So if you look at the number of years, it's almost equivalent to what Mumbai port is. And that is the kind of experience that we have in terms of building the port from that level to the current situation where it is. And it has grown over time. So the expertise that is there in the port is actually very important for us. We take it as an IP. We also share that expertise. What we've been doing is that our port is now like an open platform for test. It's like a testing ground for most of this innovation that is coming up. We are having a permanent space in a hotspot called Beacon, where most of these startups actually are global startups actually come work along with universities and use the port platform to develop new innovations that are relevant to the maritime industry. We also have a kind of a hotspot called Plug and Play Maritime, which actually connects you to the new the companies that are in the port operating on the new technology. So this is something which we've been doing at the Antwerp platform, which we're doing in Belgium. But in India, what we've been doing is we do have a training center in tie-up with JNPT, now JNPA. It's a physical training center where we conduct a lot of trainings related to port industry, and we almost do like 10 to 12 trainings a year with expertise faculty coming in from Belgium, and it's a more practical kind of hands-on training for port professionals. We get that training on the ground with tie-up with JNPA and invite all the professionals to be a part of it. So that is kind of a training we do. The training is also in a hybrid mode where we actually invite people who are part of the training to come and spend a few number of days in Antwerp to really understand what's happening in that area. The third aspect of it is we do have a subsidiary company called as Port of Antwerp-Bruges International, which is a consulting arm, and we have been doing a lot of consulting projects in India over the last few years. We last completed a study with the Calcutta port on night navigation into the port area. Now that study does not just mean that we submit a report. It actually also means there's an element to it where we invite people from the port to come and actually get trained in the Antwerp platform and see what exactly it means. We are currently actually doing a study with the Assam government on inland navigation. So these are kind of activities that we actually been doing to really look at where we can transfer that knowledge that has been built over years in terms of both technology, in terms of both experience, to how we can work closely with the Indian ports out here.
Just on that, the technology is more focused towards the major ports, or you do that along with the other non-major ports also?
No, I think the technology is for everyone. I don't think it's relevant to any of the major port. Depends upon how well it is established. For example, Mr. Choudhary just mentioned that establishing a digital twin is quite expensive. Right. But again, it depends upon how well you are advanced in that area. We've been building over that digital twin over years now. It's not that we built it yesterday and we started it. It takes a lot of time. There is a lot of data sharing. There is a lot of knowledge. There is a lot of information needs to be captured, and it is like an ongoing project. Every time you find an incident, you capture that, you learn over it with machine learning or artificial intelligence, and you build the next phase of it. So that's continuously a learning process.
Sir, on one of the aspects on the when technology is there is always a thing on cyber security, right? And we recently saw one outage which happened at Microsoft, and the kind of impact it had at all operations part of it, right? And in fact, it made even Indigo write the boarding pass and scribble on paper and give, kind of, setting us back quite a few decades. From your side, so how the digital infrastructure is getting now safeguarded and in these major ports, and what is the threats still which can be avoided or are still to be mitigated from the digital perspective?
Yeah, thanks. See, as more you go digital, the more the risk is. because you are exposed to the net. And the way we are also intelligent, the hackers are getting more intelligent. So it is like egg and chicken story. So, but we need to be more agile, making sure that how we can protect our assets, as well as making sure that it is the minimum things are available in our place or premises to secure our data as well as operations. So as a major ports, we have our own teams at each port. We have CISO and CISO team. The Chief Information Security Officer and his team is available. All the ports are ISO 27001 certified, and we do regular audits for that. Even for the normal policy matters, or to make sure that our port is more and more secured, we leverage the expertise and competency available with the IITs. So as a part of the policy matter, we have tie-ups, and we have signed an MOU with IIT Kanpur and other places, where we use them to make sure that they do our VAPT, they do a lot of tests to ensure that our ports are secured. Of course, whatever else is required for the technology side, like we have firewall, we have honeypots and all that, whatever that is required through the technology side, I think we all have those things available in each port so that we can take care of that properly. Another major important thing for the cyber security is the awareness. So the continuous training for the cyber security awareness for all our people, right from the beginning till the vessel agent, is equally important, because all our transaction happens online. Even the port operation transaction, the money transaction, all happens on the net. Money transfer also happens in the net. So it is important that everyone is properly trained, or he should have a knowledge of what need to be done, what need not to be done with the net, or the processes that we follow while during the transactions of it. So those all things are also in place, and as part of the government initiatives, I think we all do the Cyber Jagrukta Divas and whatever that is required for the implementation of it. It is very important that we also share whatever the mistakes that we have done, or whatever the mistakes that has been done by the other ports, so that we are more, we are more agile on that, and we can take care of those things prior to that. Now, one more thing which is getting implemented in all our major ports is AI/ML based cybersecurity technology. Because of these threats and other things, I think we have started exploring the technologies which are used by the other companies all across. And for that, we have tied up with the IIT Bombay for the AI/ML based cybersecurity implementation. So that also will get implemented, which will help us to reduce the threats and the vulnerabilities which are coming up through the net to our ports. So that is what is more important for us. We also learned certain things from the NSC. If you have seen or heard, NSC gets close to around millions of attacks in a month on their portal. And which I think how they do that, I think if you have any access, I think you should go and see their implementation, how best they have done it for the cyber security. It is one of the really great example of cyber security technology implementations that they have done. So this is what we do normally for cyber security, and for last couple of years, we have not seen anything which is happening on the Indian port side much. So hopefully, I think things are getting better.
This is one thing you would wish nothing happens also, right?
Yeah, of course.
You don't want anything to happen.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. So, sir, on you kind of talked about the executive training and that you'll come back. So I think the whole collaboration between the industry, while the partnership at the student level, you did mention in your last part of the discussion, but from the executives part of it, and more so with the adoption of technology, the people who are there, they will have to adopt that, right? So I think it's more on people who have been in the system for 15 years, 20 years, and then how they can adopt technology and what is the kind of training and skill development that has to happen. What are the things that, from an institute perspective, that you are engaging upon?
As the saying goes, that from Toffler, that illiterates of 21st century are not those who cannot read or write. Illiterates of 21st century are not those who cannot read or write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. And therefore, tremendous focus has to happen on skilling, reskilling, and upskilling all the sector people. And I'm very happy to say that while this year's budget of Government of India has 11.1 lakh crore for capital expenditure, it also has 1.5 lakh crore and a tremendous focus on skilling of the youth. And that is where we believe that as a unique university of the 21st century, whose vision statement is industry-driven, innovation-led, every single program that we have conceived is in that direction. At this moment, as I speak, we have completed 15 hours of a course material that will be delivered to 50,000 civil services officers across whole of India as per a national mandate given to us by Ministry of Commerce and Industry, their DPIIT Division Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade. That is, how do you use Gati Shakti, PM Gati Shakti tool for when you create a new infrastructure so that cost overruns and schedule overruns can be minimized. Second, in terms of our regular education programs, I talked about we have a regular programs. Our MBA programs, our PhD programs are for working professionals in the sense that they are hybrid mode programs. Without taking leave from their current employer, they are expected to visit university 2 weeks in a semester, and therefore many people from different organizations in Bangalore Metro or Pune Metro or Indian Army or Bharat BPCL and so on have already enrolled into such programs. And for maritime sector, particularly, as a university, we have been very strongly contributing along with Indian Maritime University to the maritime sector skill development, and currently for the 47 capacity building plans and the various workshops that are being held. We are very open to partnership. Each of our program has been built with a partnership. If we built railway curriculum, we built with Ministry of Railway and the production units like Integral Coach Factory or Banaras Locomotive Works, as well as railway industries like L&T, Siemens, Alstom, Deutsche Bahn, and so on. Similarly, when we built the program for port and shipping logistics, not only with Indian Maritime University, we are now talking to the various ports. We have already set up meetings with some of them, and we are very open to tie up with Indian Ports Association, as was the last meeting. It was suggested by the current president of Indian Ports Association. And while being in Gujarat, we have very good access to the Deen Dayal DDA port, and we have a very good access then Mundra port. And we want to have this access to all the 12 ports, major ports. Another thing, and that is a unique feature of our university, is that because we are designed to serve the entire transportation sector, multimodal transportation aspect and multimodal logistics is inherent and central to the theme that we have. And therefore, when Vadhavan port comes, where there is a dedicated freight corridor terminating right next to it, where there is a national highway, so multimodal operations will be one of the very, very important and distinguished value proposition for us. We already have received several requests and submitted 4 proposals to Ministry of External Affairs, wherein several officers from outside of India, from different countries, after the G20 meetings, shall continuously visit our universities, and we shall conduct training program for them. Through this forum, I want to appeal and request all the industry members in this maritime sector who are present here today. We have set up this university in industry-oriented approach, and I openly invite you to help create those kind of graduates that you want to employ. Therefore, you have an opportunity to define the curriculum. You have an opportunity to deliver the curriculum. With Nokia as an example, Nokia is one of the important thing in port of Antwerp, and we know that what they have done in terms of communication systems. We are already working with them on a joint research program, joint research lab that we want to set up. And first example we are going to take is for the port sector and what we can do in using AI as well as in 5G and build use cases for that. Right? Second thing we want to do is 5G and AI is today, but already India has moved forward and is spending around 10,000 crore on quantum mission. 6G mission, quantum mission. When quantum comes into picture, you will have quantum security, so elevated level of security. We can always talk security. There is one thing I have to mention. It is the cost of security. We can build any level of security that we want. It all depends upon what is the cost that we are willing to pay for that security, right? So on those kind of programs on quantum security, on quantum communication, so these are quantum-based optimized route planning that will be needed for the maritime sector. So this whole sector, which is very, very important for India as we go ahead, I once again invite all the industry partners present here today. I will leave my email and phone number. I'll meet you. We are very, very happy to collaborate with you to create jointly the curriculum. Should there be a need for executive training for your employees, we'll be very happy to collaborate with you and deliver such kind of a curriculum. Thank you.
Excellent. I think we have nearly run out of time. I think there's one more panel. So I'll open up the floor for questions if there are any. Good. Either the session was really interesting and we've done a fantastic job, or it's at the end of the day, right? Okay. Thank you all. Thanks for coming in here. Thank you.